This week's gospel, we hear the story of the Transfiguration of Jesus. It's a big word. It means that his figure was transformed in front of his apostles, Peter, James, and John, at the top of this mountain, Mount Tabor, when Moses and Elijah appeared out of nowhere. Right? It's this fascinating story, mysterious story. It's kind of a strange story. Jesus is revealing his full divinity, or at least as much as he can at that point, right, to his human apostles, in part to prepare them for Holy Week, because they're going to Jerusalem. He's going to be crucified. It's going to be rough. They're going to question, is this guy the Messiah? Is he who we thought he was? And so Jesus is giving them this moment where they see him for who he is. And in this moment, Moses shows up representing the law in the Old Testament, and Elijah shows up representing the prophets of the Old Testament. So the entire Old Testament points to Jesus in this moment. Right? The words of the Old Testament do, but these figures, in a very literal way, point to Jesus in this moment. What's interesting to me about this story is where it happens. It happens at the top of this mountain. Yet the apostles couldn't, in some sense, they couldn't really see Jesus for who he was down on the ground, out with the regular people. I mean, they're seeing miracles, they're hearing teachings and all that kind of stuff, but to actually see who he is requires getting out of that, getting away from that, and going to the top of the mountain, ascending the mountain, climbing the mountain, if you will. Same thing is true for us. As we climb, kind of metaphorically, climb the mountain of doctrines of the church, of Jesus' teachings, we can understand him better and see him better for who he is. As we climb, if you will, the mountain of good works, right? If we lift ourselves up with these uplifting acts and words for other people, we can start to see Jesus a little more clearly for who he actually is. And even as you do the same act of service, or you study the same doctrine, some of us, you've been doing this Faith Formation at Home program for a couple of years, you've read this UCAT for Kids a couple of times, but it's like circling around a mountain, right? You're hitting the same thing from a different vantage point, and you see it a little bit more deeply, a little higher, if you will, right? And so as we ascend that mountain, we can see Jesus more clearly for who he is. You can also think of these beautiful spiritual moments throughout our lives that we might consider to be mountaintop moments, right? If you've been on a mission trip, or you've done a really moving retreat, maybe it was just a Sunday Mass that really spoke to you in a special way. These mountaintop moments where it feels like this is more than just the ordinary Christian thing, like this is God is real and he's moving in my life. Those mountaintop moments are key for seeing who God is and understanding who he is. And words fail when you try to describe those, right? Notice in the story, Peter just kind of starts rambling about, it's good that we're here. He's in this moment of contemplation, right? It's good that we're here. We should build some tents. And I don't know if it's in Mark's gospel, it might be a different gospel, but in one of the gospels, Jesus actually cuts off Peter as he's speaking and is like, just stop talking. Sometimes when we experience these mountaintop moments, our words fail utterly to describe it. And it feels like putting it into words takes away some of the importance of it. But it's good to try. So it'd be good as a family to consider this week, what have been our mountaintop moments as a family, as individuals? It doesn't even have to be explicitly religious, just moments of deep joy as a family. Maybe it was a great vacation, or a really fun weekend, or a nice game night where we weren't running around and we were just playing board games together. What have been our mountaintop moments? These moments where we see clearly who we are and who God is. And what might God be saying to us through those things? And how might we be able to facilitate more of those mountaintop moments to get away from the ordinary this Lent and to experience Jesus so we can see him for who he really is?